a manual telling Chinese security forces to, quote, fight the battle of maintaining long-term stability in Tibet and how to deal with the psychological aftermath. India-based Tibetan Center for Human Rights and Democracy obtained this internal instruction for police in China's Sichuan province. Entitled Guide on Psychiatric Wellbeing While Maintaining Stability, the manual has 29 questions and answers meant to help officers deal with the mental stress of repressing Tibetans and the moral dilemmas accompanying it. In one section, the manual talks about the trauma of cracking down on monks, saying, quote, when officers see protesting maroon-robed monks, become uncomfortable and confused. This, says the manual, diminish the strength of armed forces' valor and resolve in punishing troublemakers. Xinjiang-based human rights activist Mr. Jiang says these types of rhetoric are not new.
These things make me think of the massacre on June 4th, 1989. Those forces were close to the suburbs of Beijing and were brainwashed for a certain period. Now, for suppression in Tibet, they use the same materials for brainwashing the officials and soldiers. These officers and soldiers were basically devoid of humanity and the suppression of those Tibetans.
Written for the People's Armed Police Force, the manual highlights how the suppression in Tibet has psychologically impacted these officers. It says new officers in Tibet have, quote, difficulty managing tempers and becoming scared to the point of losing confidence. Despite the psychological tolls, the manual makes clear what the Communist Party's policy is in Tibet. It urges the armed police to, quote, clearly recognizing the political strategy and context of the stability maintenance work in Tibetan areas. The goal, to ensure the victory of the Chinese regime. Tibetan rights groups have long complained of the heavy-handed approach of the Communist Party in Tibetan regions. Since 2009, at least 121 Tibetans have self-immolated in protest. Many of these burnings happened in Sichuan province, where there's a large Tibetan community.